Not every chart-topping song in music history was ever meant to be taken seriously. Plenty of the biggest hits on record charts around the world started out as pure jokes, silly bits written just to get a laugh, that somehow ended up outselling records by artists trying their absolute hardest. So today, we're counting down 20 joke songs from 1960s that became global hits. Number 20, Tie Me Kangaroo Down, Sport by Rolf Harris.
Tie me kangaroo down, sport, tie me kangaroo down.
Released in 1960, this song was written and performed by Australian entertainer Rolf Harris, built around exaggerated Australian slang and a comedic story about a dying stockman giving instructions for the care of his pet kangaroo. It became a genuine international hit, reaching the top 10 in both the UK and the United States, an unusual achievement for a novelty song built so heavily around regional Australian humor that many overseas listeners barely understood. Harris had actually written the song years earlier while working in England, drawing on genuine Australian bush ballad traditions, and stretching the joke as far as it could reasonably go across several increasingly absurd verses.
Tie me kangaroo down, sport, tie me kangaroo down.
The recording used a small, hand-cranked instrument called a wobble board, which Harris had invented himself, giving the track a distinctive rattling sound effect that became one of its most recognizable features. Its success helped establish Harris as an international entertainer well beyond Australia, leading to a decades-long career in British television that lasted long after this one song's initial novelty had worn off. The song's structure, adding a new absurd instruction with each verse while repeating everything that came before it, became a comedic technique Harris would return to repeatedly throughout his later novelty recordings, giving audiences a familiar, building formula they could anticipate and enjoy on repeated listens.
Tie me kangaroo down, sport, tie me kangaroo down.
Number 19, My Boomerang Won't Come Back by Charlie Drake.
My boomerang won't come back. My boomerang won't come back.
Released in 1961, this song was written by British comedian Charlie Drake and Max Diamond, telling the story of an Aboriginal Australian man struggling repeatedly to master the basic skill of boomerang throwing. It became a substantial UK hit, reaching the top 20 on the British singles chart despite relying almost entirely on a single repeated comedic premise stretched across the full length of the record. The song's humor leaned heavily on exaggerated accents and stereotypes that would be viewed very differently by modern standards, though at the time it was treated as straightforward, family-friendly comedy entertainment.
I'm a big disgrace, the Aborigine race. My boomerang won't come back.
Drake was already a well-established television comedian in Britain before the song's release, and its success helped further cement his reputation as one of the country's most recognizable comic performers of the era. The recording's simple, repetitive structure made it easy for audiences to sing along with during live performances, contributing significantly to its popularity on British radio throughout the early 1960s.
My boomerang won't come back. My boomerang won't come back.
Number 18, Right Said Fred by Bernard Cribbins.
Right said Fred, both of us together, one each end and steady as we go.
Released in 1962, this song was written by Ted Dix and Miles Rudge, and told the story of two workmen struggling comically to move a large piece of furniture out of a house, running into one absurd obstacle after another. It reached number 10 on the UK singles chart, becoming one of British actor Bernard Cribbins' most enduring hits during a decade when he was already well known for both comedy and children's entertainment work. The song's simple, conversational storytelling style, delivered almost like a spoken monologue set to music, became something of a signature format for British novelty songs throughout the 1960s.
All right said Fred, have to take the feet off to get them feet off. Wouldn't they?
Decades later, the song's title was borrowed directly by an entirely unrelated British pop duo from the 1990s, who took their band name from the song without any other connection to the original recording. Cribbins went on to a long and varied career in British entertainment, including later voice work and acting roles that introduced him to entirely new generations of audiences.
Right said Fred, both of us together, one each end and steady as we go.
Number 17, Ahab the Arab by Ray Stevens.
And that story about Ahab the Arab. She got
Released in 1962, this song was written and performed by American singer Ray Stevens, telling an exaggerated comedic story centered on a fictional sheikh and his camel traveling through the desert. It became a substantial hit in the United States, reaching the top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and establishing Stevens as one of the country's most reliably successful novelty recording artists for decades to come. The song relied heavily on exaggerated vocal characterizations and sound effects, a comedic approach Stevens would continue refining throughout much of his later career. Its broad, cartoonish humor and heavy use of cultural stereotypes reflect attitudes common in mainstream American comedy at the time, though such material would be received very differently by today's standards. The song's commercial success gave Stevens the platform to continue releasing similarly styled novelty singles throughout the following decade, several of which also became significant hits in their own right. Stevens would go on to have an unusually long career built on this exact formula, releasing comedic singles across 4 separate decades, a level of sustained novelty chart success matched by very few other American recording artists of his era.
And that's the story about Ahab the Arab. She got
Number 16, The Laughing Policeman by Charles Penrose.
He laughs upon point duty, he laughs upon his feet, he laughs.
Originally recorded in 1922, this song experienced a surprising revival decades later, re-entering the UK singles chart in 1966, after renewed radio interest introduced it to an entirely new generation of listeners. Written and performed by British entertainer Charles Penrose, the recording is built almost entirely around uncontrollable, infectious laughter, mixed with a simple comedic melody about a police officer who can't stop laughing on duty. Despite being more than 4 decades old by the time it charted again, the song's simple, universal premise translated easily to a 1960s audience raised on similarly silly novelty material. Its unusual chart return demonstrated just how durable a genuinely well-executed comedic recording could be, outlasting most of the more conventional pop hits released around the same original time period. The song has remained a fixture of British seaside entertainment and children's programming for generations, continually introduced to new listeners decades after its original recording.
He laughs upon point duty, he laughs upon his feet, he laughs.
Number 15, Guitarzan by Ray Stevens.
He's all you can stand. Give him a hand, Guitarzan.
Released in 1969, this song was another comedic hit from Ray Stevens, this time built around a parody of the Tarzan jungle adventure genre, following a guitar-playing jungle character through a series of increasingly ridiculous musical scenarios. It reached number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 that year, further cementing Stevens' reputation as one of the most consistently successful novelty artists working in mainstream American pop music. The song featured a memorable jungle call vocal effect that became one of its most recognizable and frequently imitated elements on radio at the time. Stevens wrote and produced the track largely on his own, continuing a pattern of self-contained comedic songwriting that had already worked successfully for him earlier in the decade. Its success proved that novelty songs could still reliably chart even as rock and soul music increasingly dominated the American pop landscape by the end of the 1960s.
He's all you can stand. Give him a hand, Guitarzan.
Number 14, Two Little Boys by Rolf Harris.
Little boys had 2 little toys.
Released in 1969, this song told the emotional story of 2 childhood friends whose bond, first shown through a simple wooden toy horse, is later tested and reaffirmed decades later during wartime. Though more sentimental than comedic, Rolf Harris performed it in the same warm, theatrical storytelling style that had made his earlier novelty hit so successful, and it became the UK Christmas #1 that year, staying at the top of the chart for 6 weeks total. The song had actually originated as an American composition written decades earlier, though Harris's version became by far the most commercially successful and widely remembered recording of it. Its massive success demonstrated Harris's ability to move beyond pure comedy into more heartfelt storytelling material while still retaining the same theatrical performance style audiences had come to expect from him. The song's popularity endured for years afterward, remaining a staple of British nostalgia programming long after its initial chart run had ended. Harris performed the song regularly throughout the rest of his career, and it remained one of the most requested pieces at his live shows, standing as proof that the same performer capable of writing a lighthearted song about a kangaroo could also deliver a genuinely moving piece of storytelling when the material called for it.
2 little boys had 2 little toys.
Number 13, Grandad by Clive Dunn. Released in late 1970, this song was performed by British actor Clive Dunn, best known at the time for playing the elderly Lance Corporal Jones on the popular sitcom Dad's Army, Despite Dunn himself being only in his late 40s during filming, the song presents a gentle, sentimental reflection from an elderly man's perspective on how much the world has changed during his lifetime, delivered in a warm, grandfatherly speaking voice rather than conventional singing. It reached number 1 on the UK singles chart in January 1971, becoming one of several novelty and sentimental hits that dominated British Christmas and New Year charts. During that particular stretch of the early 1970s, Dunn's convincing portrayal of old age, both on television and in the recording, led many younger listeners to genuinely believe he was an elderly performer rather than an actor playing a character. The song's massive success demonstrated just how much crossover appeal existed between British television comedy and the pop singles chart during that period. Dunn continued performing the song regularly throughout the rest of his career, and it remained closely tied to his public image for decades afterward, arguably becoming just as recognizable to British audiences as his television role on Dad's Army had been in the first place. Number 12. Ernie, the Fastest Milkman in the West, by Benny Hill. Released in November 1971, this song was written and performed by British comedian Benny Hill, drawing loosely on his own real-life experience working as a teenage milkman before he became famous. Structured as a comedic parody of spaghetti western films, the song tells the story of a rivalry between two delivery men competing for the affections of a widow named Sue. It reached number 1 on the UK singles chart that December, becoming the Christmas number 1 and staying at the top for 4 consecutive weeks, notably keeping T-Rex from claiming a 3rd consecutive chart-topping single. The song also reached number 1 in Australia the following February, demonstrating genuine international reach well beyond Britain's own charts. Hill had actually written the song back in 1955, originally intending it as material for an unproduced film screenplay about his own milkman days, long before it eventually became his signature recording more than 15 years later. Number 11. Convoy GB by Lori Lingo and the Dipsticks. Released in 1976, this song was a direct British parody of the American trucking hit Convoy by C.W. McCall, reworking the original's Citizens Band radio slang into distinctly British trucking culture and geography. Recorded by DJs Christopher Stewart and Roger Grierson under comedic pseudonyms, the parody reached number 4 on the UK singles chart that same year, an impressive showing for a song built entirely around mimicking someone else's recent hit. The recording closely mirrored the structure and delivery of the American original while swapping in British place names, motorway references, and local slang throughout its extended running time. Its success demonstrated just how quickly British audiences embraced parody versions of American trends. Releasing their own comedic take within the same calendar year, the original song had become a hit overseas. The parody's popularity briefly outpaced the original Convoy single on British charts, showing how effectively localized comedy could compete directly against the very source material it was mocking. Number 10. Funky Gibbon by the Goodies. Released in 1975, this song was performed by the cast of the British television comedy series The Goodies, built around an invented dance craze inspired loosely by the movements of a gibbon monkey. It reached number 4 on the UK singles chart that year, becoming one of several successful spin-off singles released by the trio during the height of their television popularity. The song's simple, repetitive dance instructions made it easy for audiences to participate along with the joke, a formula that had worked successfully for other novelty dance songs throughout the decade. The Goodies, made up of performers Tim Brooke-Taylor, Graham Garden, and Bill Oddie, had already built a strong following through their absurdist television sketches before branching into music, giving the single an existing built-in audience eager to buy anything connected to the show. Its chart success helped demonstrate just how effectively British television comedy could translate directly into genuine pop chart hits during the mid-1970s. Number 9. Combine Harvester by the Wurzels. Released in 1976, this song was a direct parody of American singer Melanie's earlier hit Brand New Key, rewriting the original's lyrics about roller skates into a comedic story about rural courtship involving farm machinery. Performed by British band The Wurzels, known for a genre sometimes called scrumpy and western, blending country music influences with West Country English dialect and rural humor, the parody reached #1 on the UK singles chart that June. The song had actually already been a hit in Ireland the previous year under a different title. Performed by Irish comedian Brendan Grace, before the Wurzels' British version became the far more commercially successful and widely remembered recording. The single's massive success came just months after the band lost their original founder, Adge Cutler, in a car accident, adding an unexpectedly bittersweet backdrop to what became their biggest commercial triumph. Its popularity helped launch a series of similarly styled agricultural-themed parody singles from the band throughout the rest of the decade.
I got a brand new combine harvester and I'll give you the key.
Number 8. Ugly Duckling by Mike Reid.
This poor little ugly duckling went one.
Released in 1975, this song was performed by British actor and comedian Mike Reid, built around a comedic, self-deprecating narrative about being perceived as unattractive, loosely inspired by the classic fairy tale of the same name. It reached number 10 on the UK singles chart that year, becoming a solid commercial success during a period when British novelty and comedy singles regularly competed for chart space alongside more conventional pop releases. Reid was already a familiar face on British television through stand-up comedy appearances before the song's release, giving the single an existing audience receptive to his particular brand of blunt, working-class humor. The song's simple, catchy structure and relatable comedic premise helped it find an audience well beyond Reid's existing television fan base. Reid went on to a long career in British entertainment, eventually transitioning into a significant dramatic acting role on a long-running television soap opera years later, a career shift that introduced him to audiences who had no idea he had once had a hit novelty single.
This poor little ugly duckling went one.
Number 7. Shut You Face by Joe Dolce.
What's the matter you? Hey, gotta no respect. What do you...
Released in late 1980, this song was written and performed by Ohio-born, Australian-based musician Joe Dolce, built around an affectionate parody of an Italian immigrant household, complete with an exaggerated accent and a catchphrase drawn from Dolce's own family memories. Released under the name Joe Dolce Music Theatre, it became the best-selling single in Australian chart history at the time, topping the Australian charts for 8 consecutive weeks. Its success then extended internationally, reaching number 1 in more than a dozen countries, including a 3-week run at the top of the UK singles chart in early 1981, where it famously kept Ultravox's Vienna from claiming the top spot. The song sold more than 6 million copies worldwide and was eventually translated into more than 30 different foreign language versions across various markets. Its massive global success remains one of the clearest examples of a self-financed novelty recording, built on a shoestring budget, going on to outsell far more expensive and critically acclaimed productions released the very same year.
What's the matter you? Hey, gotta no respect. What do you...
Number 6. Eat It by Weird Al Yankovic. Released in 1984, this song was a direct musical parody of Michael Jackson's massive hit Beat It, swapping the original's dramatic lyrics about avoiding violence for comedic lyrics about a stubborn child refusing to eat dinner. It reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and topped the charts in Australia, becoming one of the most commercially successful song parodies ever released up to that point. Yankovic secured personal permission from Michael Jackson himself before recording the parody, a courtesy he has maintained with virtually every major artist he has parodied throughout his entire career. The accompanying music video closely mimicked the visual style of Jackson's original, earning Yankovic a Grammy Award for Best Concept Music Video the following year. The song's massive success helped establish Yankovic as far more than a passing novelty act, launching a genuinely long-running mainstream recording career built almost entirely around cleverly executed musical parody. Number 5. Nelly the Elephant by Toy Dolls. Originally a children's song from 1956, this tune was reimagined in 1984 by British punk rock band Toy Dolls, who transformed the gentle nursery favorite into a fast, chaotic punk rock rendition. The reworked version reached number 4 on the UK singles chart that year, becoming an unlikely commercial triumph for a band otherwise associated with the underground punk scene rather than mainstream pop radio. The original song had told the simple story of a circus elephant running away to join a group of wild elephants in the jungle, a storyline the Toy Dolls left largely intact despite completely reworking the musical style around it. The song's success demonstrated just how effectively a well-known nostalgic children's melody could be repurposed for an entirely different genre and audience, while still retaining its original charm. Toy Dolls never matched this level of mainstream chart success again, making the song by far the most widely recognized recording of their entire career. Number 4, Chicken Dance by Werner Thomas, and various international adaptations. Originally composed as an accordion instrumental called The Duck Dance by Swiss musician Werner Thomas in the late 1950s, this tune gradually spread across Europe under various regional names, before becoming globally popular decades later as The Chicken Dance, accompanied by a simple, flapping hand and arm movement routine. Different countries adopted the tune under different titles and slightly different arrangements throughout the 1970s and 1980s, with the instrumental eventually becoming a fixture at weddings, sporting events, and parties across dozens of countries worldwide. Because the tune spread primarily through dance halls, radio broadcasts, and word of mouth rather than a single definitive hit recording, no one version ever became the sole officially recognized global chart hit, though its combined worldwide popularity across countless regional releases made it one of the most widely performed novelty tunes in music history. Its simple, universally understandable dance instructions required no translation, allowing the song to cross language barriers more easily than almost any other novelty recording of its era. Decades later, it remains one of the most recognizable instrumental melodies in the world, despite most listeners having no idea of its original Swiss origins. The tune's spread was helped considerably by its adoption at Oktoberfest celebrations and European folk festivals throughout the 1970s, where its simple structure made it easy for bands of any skill level to perform, further accelerating its journey from a regional accordion piece into one of the most universally recognized party songs on the planet. Number 3, The Chicken Song by Spitting Image. Released in 1986, this song was created by the team behind the British satirical puppet television series Spitting Image, built as a deliberate parody mocking the wave of simplistic, dance-crazed novelty singles that had become common on European pop radio throughout the decade. It reached number 1 on the UK singles chart that May, becoming a genuine commercial hit despite, or perhaps because of, its self-aware mockery of the very genre it belonged to. The song's lyrics intentionally poked fun at nonsensical holiday pop songs by instructing listeners to perform increasingly absurd and pointless physical actions, exaggerating a formula that had become extremely common on European radio at the time. Its success demonstrated the strange, self-referential appeal of a joke song that succeeded specifically by mocking other joke songs, outperforming many of the sincere novelty singles it was directly satirizing. The show's puppet caricatures of British and international political and entertainment figures had already made Spitting Image enormously popular on television, giving the single significant built-in visibility upon release. Number 2, Star Trekkin' by The Firm. Released in May 1987, this song was written by British musician Rory Kehoe and built around a parody of the original Star Trek television series, featuring exaggerated comedic voice impressions of the show's main characters performed by band members and friends. After being rejected by every major record label the group approached, the band self-financed an initial pressing of just 500 copies, distributing them directly to UK radio stations rather than through traditional retail channels. The song rapidly built momentum through radio requests, eventually climbing from outside the charts entirely to 2 weeks at number 1 on the UK singles chart that June. It went on to sell more than 1 million copies worldwide, with notable chart success in Australia and steady American recognition through repeated airplay on the Dr. Demento radio program, even without officially charting on the Billboard Hot 100. One phrase from the song's chorus became so widely repeated afterward that many fans mistakenly believed it had originated from the original television series itself rather than from this parody record.
Trekking across the universe.
Number 1, Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett and the Crypt Kickers.
He did the monster mash.
Released in 1962, this song was written by Bobby Pickett and Lenny Capizzi, built around a comedic Halloween-themed story, imagining classic horror movie monsters gathering together to dance to a new dance craze. Pickett performed the lead vocal using an exaggerated impression of actor Boris Karloff's voice, a tribute to the actor's famous portrayal of Frankenstein's monster in classic horror films decades earlier. The song reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 that October, perfectly timed for the Halloween season, and went on to become one of the most consistently re-charting songs in American music history, returning to the charts multiple times over the following decades whenever Halloween season approached. Its international reach extended well beyond the United States, with the song becoming a recurring seasonal hit in numerous countries and inspiring countless cover versions and parodies over the years that followed. Pickett spent much of his subsequent career closely associated with the song, occasionally re-recording updated versions of it, but nothing else in his catalog ever came close to matching the massive, enduring global popularity of this one Halloween novelty hit. Capizzi, his co-writer, continued working in the music industry for years afterward, but it was this single recording built around a simple joke about monsters learning a new dance that ultimately outlasted nearly every other novelty song of its era.
He did the monster mash.
From wobbleboards and milkmen to Star Trek parodies and dancing monsters, these 20 songs prove that a great joke, delivered with real commitment, could conquer charts all around the world just as easily as any serious hit. If these silly classics brought a smile to your face, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into music history. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.